You could be sleeping with an emotional traitor and you wouldn't even know it. She's right next to you. She says goodnight. She gets into your bed. She shares your table. But she no longer shares your soul because her desire, her attention, her passion, they no longer belong to you. And you still think it's just a phase, that she's confused. No, she's not confused, she's choosing. She just doesn't want to admit it yet. A woman won't tell you straight up that she no longer desires you. She won't do that. What she does is leave clues, soft phrases, seemingly harmless, that if you don't know how to read them, they destroy you inside without you being able to explain why. Today I'm going to reveal those phrases, the ones a woman uses when she's already desiring someone else, when she's already started to leave, but wants you to be the one to figure it out. That way she can justify everything that comes next. I'm not going to rely on sentimentalism. I'm relying on the real psychology of the female mind. On years of listening to women tell me what their husbands never knew. I'm relying on clinical experience and on the tough ancient wisdom of the Stoics. Because when a man learns to discern between a woman of value and a promiscuous woman, they can't use him anymore. Today I'm going to show you the 7 most dangerous phrases a woman says when she no longer chooses you, even though she still lives with you. And if you recognize them, you'll stop being the last one to know. You'll stop being the man whose house, soul and bed are slowly dimming without understanding why. Celia, and I'm not here to comfort you, I'm here to shake you up. Because if you don't wake up now, you'll keep being that useful, faithful and betrayed man. So listen carefully, because after this video either you take control or they'll take it from you completely. Has a woman ever told you, I feel disconnected but I don't know why? And instead of sounding the alarms, you lowered your head like a wounded puppy, thinking it was your fault, that you had failed, that you needed to try harder. No, that phrase isn't a cry for attention. It's the beginning of abandonment. And the worst part, it started a long time ago. You just didn't want to see it. We're at the first point of this video, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. When a woman says she feels disconnected, it's because she's already started looking at another man with eyes that used to be yours. Your hands no longer excite her. Your words no longer move her. She doesn't wait for your messages anymore because her desire has already moved on. And when a woman's desire leaves, her body still touches you. Yes, but her soul no longer belongs to you. And do you know what's the darkest part of this phrase? She knows exactly what she's disconnected from. She's disconnected from you, from your energy, from your scent, from your strength. She doesn't desire you anymore. But she can't say it directly because that would force her to face her own part in this. So she disguises it. She camouflages it, she hides it behind that soft, almost spiritual line as if she's on some internal journey when in reality she's becoming more external, more distant, closer to someone else. Female psychology, the real one, not the one from magazines, knows how to manipulate with tenderness because an intelligent woman doesn't break up suddenly. She breaks up little by little. She empties you emotionally while maintaining the appearance of still being there. And you, if you're not firm, will find yourself begging for attention without realizing that you're already competing with an invisible man. Someone you don't know how, but who already exists in her desire. I don't want you to take this as drama. I want you to understand it for what it is, a code of the female mind. Because that phrase, I feel disconnected, isn't a starting point, it's the end. And if you take it as an opportunity to win her back, you'll lose faster than you can imagine. Not because she says it, but because she no longer sees you as a man. Now you're just someone who's there. And for a woman, that's the emotional equivalent of the death of the bond. So, look at me carefully. If you heard that phrase in the past few days, don't ask her what's wrong. You already know. Don't try to reconnect with her. She doesn't want to come back. What she wants is to leave without seeming like the bad one. She wants you to keep being her emotional support while her mind is already ignited by someone else. And if you don't cut it there, if you don't set a boundary, you'll be the man she left in slow motion. The one who believed the story of disconnection as just a phase when in reality it was a farewell that had already begun. A woman who says that is not confused. She's desiring, but not you. And if you don't see it, if you don't react, if you don't stand up and look at yourself in the mirror with healthy anger, with clarity, you'll be the last to know that you're no longer in her story, just in her routine. And there, my friend, there's no desire left, only pity. If she tells you, I feel disconnected, don't ignore it. But if she then says, I need time for myself, then it's time to react, not understand. Because that phrase is not innocent. It's not emotional maturity. It's a cover-up disguised as reflection. And the man who believes it is already losing. We're at the second key point of this video, and it's this phrase, I need time for myself. That line repeated in millions of broken relationships has only one real translation. I want to sleep with other men without having to explain myself. Harsh, yes, but true. And if you don't understand it that way, you're lying to yourself. I'm telling you this from experience with hundreds of women in consultation. When a woman wants space, she doesn't ask for it to meditate in the forest or reconnect with her inner self. She asks for that time because she already has another man in mind, because there's someone who makes her tremble, and it's not you. What she needs is not time. What she needs is permission, camouflage freedom, an emotional margin where she can test out her new life without fully cutting ties with the old one. And you, if you're not awake, fall for it. You say yes. You tell her you understand. You tell her you'll wait for her, wait for a woman who's already playing at being free while you stay the obedient fool. That's not love. That's a lack of dignity. That's betraying yourself. Stoicism didn't talk about emotional understanding. It talked about self-control, about seeing reality as it is and acting with logic, not desire. Do you know what a firm man does when he hears that phrase? He doesn't argue, he doesn't beg, he doesn't humiliate himself. He looks the woman in the eyes and says, take all the time you need, but don't come back because I'm not a second choice. While you're doubting, I've already decided. But of course, to say that, you have to have strength, you have to have self-love, and many don't have it. Many mature men, betrayed by years of routine, lack of connection, indifference, cling to any crumb of attention. And when she says she needs time instead of smelling the deceit, they justify her. She's stressed. She needs to find herself. Lies. She doesn't need to find herself. She needs to test things out. And that, my friend, that has a name, emotional promiscuity, and often physical promiscuity. So remember this, when a woman asks for time, you don't lose her, you save yourself, because that request is a disguised confession. And if you allow it, if you give her permission, you're telling yourself that you're not worth enough to demand clarity. Act like a man. Don't wait. Don't explain yourself. Don't beg, because the one who gives time loses respect. And when a woman stops respecting you, nobody will matter. No gesture will reach her. Desire fades, and you become the emotional fool in a story where you were no longer chosen. When a woman begins to withdraw emotionally, she doesn't always do it with physical distance. Sometimes she continues hugging you, smiling at you, even sleeping with you. But something's already gone. Something you can feel even if you can't explain it. That something is desire. And when desire leaves, it doesn't scream. It justifies itself. And it does so with one of the most common and most deceptive phrases. Here we are at the third point of this video, and it's when she tells you not everything has to be physical. Think about it. She didn't say that when she used to look at you longingly. When she kissed you for no reason, when she undressed without guilt. That phrase didn't exist when you were the man who made her feel alive. It appears now right when you notice that she doesn't touch you the same, that her caresses feel like an obligation, that her body is present, but her intimacy isn't. And instead of admitting it, she throws you the spiritual excuse. Not everything has to be physical. No, of course. But when a woman still desires a man, the physical doesn't need to be justified. It's sought out, it's provoked, it's enjoyed. If she needs to explain it now, well, it's because she no longer feels that way with you. And do you know what's the most twisted part of that phrase? It makes you doubt yourself. It makes you think that you're the one asking for too much, that you're insensitive, superficial, shallow. But the reality is that you're not asking for more than what used to flow naturally. What's happening is that she doesn't want it with you anymore, but she doesn't dare tell you straight out. Because if she did, she'd have to admit that her body is already awakening elsewhere, that she's already fantasizing about someone else, that if she's not giving herself to you, it's because she's already doing so mentally or physically with another. This is one of the hardest moments for a man because it's not just about rejection, it's about the emotional deception that comes with it. She denies you the contact but continues acting as if everything is fine. As if the important thing is the connection beyond the body, but you're not her therapist, you're not her emotional friend, you're her man, and if a woman stops giving herself to you physically, you're no longer that. You're a companion, a provider, a paternal figure, everything but a man she desires. This is where you need to apply Stoic wisdom in its most brutal form to differentiate between what seems to be and what is, between an excuse and a truth. Because if you accept that phrase without questioning it, you become an accomplice in your own emotional castration. You transform into a man who tolerates living next to a woman who treats him like a brother while another man touches her as a woman. And I'm going to tell you something many don't want to hear. If a woman stops desiring you physically and you accept it with resignation, thinking it's just part of life, you're betraying yourself. You're silently saying that you'd rather stay with someone who no longer chooses you than face the void and reclaim your power. And that's the beginning of the end. Because there's no more humiliating act than continuing to touch a woman who's already given herself to someone else, even if it's only in her mind. The next time she tells you not everything has to be physical. Don't argue, don't explain, don't ask, just look at her silently and observe her with the eyes of a man who knows exactly what that means. That desire is gone, that you're no longer in her fire, that if you stay, it's because you'd rather be accepted as a shadow than become the light for yourself again. After a woman tells you that not everything has to be physical, what follows is not reconciliation or honesty. What follows is guilt, not hers, but the guilt she will throw onto you because she needs to justify her distance. She needs you to be the problem. She needs to feel like the victim so she can betray you without a heavy conscience. And she does this with a phrase as old as it is cowardly. We've reached the fourth point of this video, and it's when she tells you you've changed too. Oh, of course. Now apparently you've changed too. It doesn't matter if you're still providing, working, taking care of her, emotionally supporting her. It doesn't matter. She needs an excuse. She needs to say that you've become cold, boring, distant. Do you know why? Because that's how she balances the blame. That's how she can maintain her double emotional life without looking like the one who's breaking the bond. Because that way, if one day you find out there's someone else, she can say you weren't the same anymore. This is one of the most destructive mind games of the female mind when she starts to leave. She doesn't say it to improve things. She doesn't say it with the intention of solving anything. She says it to create an emotional alibi so that if one day you confront her, she already has her defense ready. I didn't want to, but you pushed me away. And if you're not firm, you'll fall for it. You'll apologize for things you didn't do. You'll feel guilty for being stable while she was falling apart inside. You'll end up believing that her emotional or physical infidelity was your fault, but it wasn't. And this is where you must act with true masculine wisdom, not from guilt, but from clarity. The Stoic doesn't break under an unjust accusation. The Stoic observes the intention behind the words. And if you don't do that, you'll end up losing your dignity in the name of a supposed mistake you never made. You'll end up accepting that your coldness provoked her desire, that your routine justified her giving herself to another. And no, it's not about you, it's about her. Her emptiness, her cowardice, her desire to feel like someone else without destroying her image. That's why she needs to blame you. Because if you're the problem, then she can play innocent while giving her body or mind to another man. This is where you need to stand up emotionally. Don't defend yourself. Don't beg. Don't explain. When a woman tells you you've changed too, look at her firmly and say what no man dares to. Yes, I changed because I grew, because I no longer tolerate what I used to. Because I'm no longer the man who stays silent while being betrayed with sweet words. That's the response that cuts the game. That's the phrase that forces her to look in the mirror. Because in that moment, you stop being the guilty man and you become the man she can no longer manipulate. And when you break that game, when you don't accept the guilt that doesn't belong to you, you regain something far more valuable than her approval. You regain your center, your power, your ability to choose who enters and who leaves your life without needing to justify anything, because yes, you've changed, but for the better. To stop allowing a woman to dim your light just because she doesn't know how to say she no longer chooses you. After blaming you with the classic, you've changed too. What follows isn't an attempt to get closer. It's the opposite. It's the subtle withdrawal, the emotional disappearance disguised as tiredness, the slow, methodical, silent cut, and you don't even notice because she justifies it with something that sounds impossible to argue against. Here we reach the 5th point of this video, which is when she says, I don't want to talk right now, I'm tired. She says it at the end of the day when you're feeling strange, uncomfortable, and disconnected. Try to have a conversation. You ask her if everything's okay, if she wants to tell you something, if something's going on between the two of you, and she, without raising her voice, without even getting upset, hits you with that line, I'm tired. As if physical exhaustion were more important than the emotional fracture growing between you. As if there's nothing to say. As if the moment isn't urgent. But you know it's not just tiredness. You feel the change. You feel the distance. She doesn't look at you the same way anymore. Something has gone out. And so instead of pressing, you give in. You say, okay, we'll talk later. But that later never comes because she's not waiting for the right moment to talk. She's avoiding talking to you. It's not that she's tired of the routine. She's tired of pretending she still cares. And the most twisted part is that she's not tired with everyone. Else, if someone else texts her, if her phone rings with a message that makes her smile, she's not tired. That's when she's energized. That's when she responds. That's when she comes alive. Because the tiredness isn't physical, it's emotional, but only with you. And you, not wanting to be pushy, thinking, you're supposed to be understanding, stay silent. You give her space, you give her time, and you start withering away without even realizing it. Because every time she says, I'm tired, she's really telling you, I don't feel like dealing with you, I don't care enough to wear myself out on a conversation. That's the truth. No one tells you, but I will. From practical psychology, this is called progressive disengagement. It's a technique many women use without being aware of it. They don't leave you suddenly, they turn you off, they cool you down, they make you feel invisible, and while you try to understand, someone else starts filling that space. Someone she has energy for, someone she does want to talk to at 11 p.m. This is where you need to act with strength, not with complaints, with presence, with firmness. The next time she says, I don't want to talk right now, I'm tired. Don't respond with sweetness. Don't say, I understand. Look at her. Wait a few seconds and say what you don't want to talk about now. Don't explain to me later because I get tired too. But I don't hide and then walk away. Not emotionally, physically, leave with dignity. Because a man who insists where he's no longer wanted becomes pathetic. And you're not here to beg. You're here to be respected. Don't get confused. Silence isn't always respect. Sometimes it's cowardice. And if you don't speak up, if you don't act, you'll end up being the man who gets used to the I'm tired like a prayer, while another man keeps her awake late into the night. After hearing her say, I wish I could disappear, one might think that distance is coming. But no, what follows is more confusing, more seductive, harder to handle. Because a woman who wants to escape her life doesn't isolate herself. She gets closer, and she does this by saying something that sounds like a question but is a perfect emotional trap. I don't know what's going on with you. We've reached the 6th point of this video. And if you don't recognize this phrase for what it truly is, you're going to get caught in an illusion that eats you up inside. Imagine it for a moment. You're with her. The glances are already charged with something neither of you admits. The tension is obvious, and then with a shy smile and almost childlike tone, she drops that line, I don't know what's going on with you. She says it like she's lost, as if you're the one throwing her off. But she's not lost. She knows exactly what's going on. She likes you. You turn her on. You throw her off. Yes, but not because it's unexpected, but because it's exactly what she's looking for. She just can't say it openly. Because if she says it, she admits the desire. She admits the betrayal. So she prefers to disguise it as confusion. This phrase is a brilliant psychological move because it places you in the role of the emotional culprit, the unintentional provoker. And if you're not strong enough, you fall into that game. You start to believe you have something special, that what's happening is unique, almost magical, but it's not. It's a pattern repeated over and over again by women who don't dare face their emptiness directly and prefer to fill it with the energy of a man who still gets caught up in someone else's emotions. The visualization is simple but powerful. Imagine you're standing in front of her. Everything she says and does is directed toward you. She talks to you differently. She looks at you differently. And when she throws that phrase at you, you're disarmed. You stop thinking. You stop observing. You just feel. And in that moment, you stop being a man with direction and become a man who reacts. You no longer lead. You no longer decide. You just wait, and that's the real loss. Stopping being the one who takes charge. The one who's still trapped in this pattern lives in constant contradiction. He wants clarity but gets swept up by ambiguous phrases. He wants respect but gets excited when used as an emotional escape. He wants a real woman but gets entangled with one who's just playing at feeling alive. And in the end, he's left alone, tired, confused, wondering if it was all real or just a fantasy disguised as connection. This phrase, I don't know what's going on with you, isn't sweetness. It's soft, emotional manipulation. And if you don't have clarity, if you don't have strength, it turns you into the man who's constantly hanging on every gesture, every word, as if they're proof of love. But they're not. They're hooks. And if you bite, you lose. Because deep down she knows what's going on. What she doesn't know is whether you're strong enough to resist it or naive enough to believe it. After weeks, maybe months of disguised distance, of silences, wrapped in phrases like, I'm tired, or I need space, a moment comes when there's nothing left to pretend. She doesn't want to talk. She doesn't want to argue. She doesn't want to make excuses. She just wants to slide in a phrase that sounds deep but is actually a verdict. We're at the 6th point of this video, and it's when she says, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. That phrase, though it may seem poetic, is an emotional execution. It's the subtlest way a woman can say, to you, you don't excite me anymore, but I want to leave without looking like the bad one. She throws that, I love you at you like a sedative, like a shield. So you don't react with anger or reproach, but then she kills it with, I'm not in love with you, as if loving someone were an intellectual act and being in love a license to desire someone else. You, like any wounded man, try to understand. You wonder how it's possible that she loves you and at the same time doesn't desire you anymore. How she can want your well-being but not your body. How she can value you as a person while fantasizing about another man every time she closes her eyes. But that's the trap, because that phrase doesn't mean she loves you. It means she feels sorry for you. She doesn't want to hurt you, but she also doesn't want to stay with you. So she keeps you there, half present, half absent, like a plant she no longer waters, but won't pull out either. In my consultations, I've heard that phrase thousands of times, and it always comes up when the woman has already crossed the emotional line with someone else. When her body no longer responds to you, but her guilt prevents her from being honest. then she throws you that poisonous gem. I love you, but I'm not in love with you, so you don't judge her. So you think there's still something left, but there's nothing left, just the memory of what you were. And the need to justify herself while she's already looking at someone else as her new possibility. This is the moment where many men lose themselves because they want to regain the falling in love. They start cooking for her, surprising her, doing things they didn't before, but it's too late. It's not about effort, it's about connection. And if she's already connected with someone else, you could give her the world and she'll still look at you like you're just a piece of furniture. The Stoic philosophy is clear. Don't insist where you're no longer welcome. Because insisting is not love, it's humiliation. And a man who humiliates himself to keep a woman who no longer desires him loses more than just a partner. He loses his self-respect. He loses his essence. He loses his strengths. So the next time she says, I love you, but I'm not in love with you, don't respond with tenderness. Don't say, let's try again. Look at her calmly and say, then don't love me because I wasn't born to be loved halfway, and leave with firmness, without tears, without speeches. Because a real man doesn't compete with ghosts. He leaves before getting lost in a story that no longer includes him. She doesn't love you. She remembers you fondly. And fondness doesn't ignite. It doesn't build. It doesn't sustain. If she's no longer in love, then she's no longer there. And if you don't have the courage to accept that, then you're not there either. There's only a shadow left waiting while she's already learned to live without you. If you've made it this far, you can't turn back. Because now you know, because now you've heard the exact phrases a woman says when she no longer desires you, when she no longer chooses you, when she's already started to leave, even if her body is still sleeping in your bed. And if you choose to ignore it, you're no longer naive. You're complicit in your own downfall. Not all women who say I love you are loving you. Not all those who ask for time are confused. Many have already crossed the line, but they need you to stay asleep so they can leave without guilt, so they can say they tried, that it was you who didn't understand. And if you don't wake up now, if you don't assert yourself as a man, if you don't take